Okay, this book. Have you ever read something that you can't stop reading, but also you hate every second of reading it? Like, I literally could not understand what was happening to me as I was reading this book. This is called The Kingmaker Chronicles by Amanda Bouchet. And look, I admit, I messed up. I didn't do my research properly. This was one of the options for this really fun book club that I'm in, and I read the blurb and it sounded great. It's the story of this woman who is being hunted, and she has special powers, and it's set in a world of Greek mythology, and it was just check, 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 check. What I didn't realize at the time was that this is not a work of fantasy. This is a romance novel with fantasy elements. And I feel like that should have been a bit more clear in the description of this book. I take responsibility for the way I feel about this book, but also a tiny bit of blame belongs on the author and the publishing house. I'm just saying. It was a really cruel bait and switch. Now, here's the thing about this book. Like the first book, it has this pace to it that you really associate with the really well-written romances. And it starts out like a romance now that I think back on it, because this is one of the most extreme cases of insta-love that I've ever read. Literally on the second page, they meet and immediately that's it. I remember somebody in the book club said, oh wow, they really do fall for each other on the second page. And I was like, ha ha. And then I'd read it and that was not a joke. They literally do meet on the second page and fall for each other hard. This book basically hits all the tropes really hard for no good reason. Both the female and male leads are this perfect example of an author not being able to choose, which side of the lane they're gonna stay on. So every single thing they do, every single quality that they have, it's always like an and. They are beautiful and they don't know it. And everybody's jealous of them. And they're the most beautiful person on the planet. The female lead is both heavyset and incredibly thin. The male lead is somebody who can keep his country first and his ambitions second. But hey, guess what? His ambitions do need to come first. Make a choice. The male lead is also like a walking red flag city. He stalks this poor girl, he kidnaps her, he insists on keeping her tied to him, gives her no privacy, is constantly pushing her boundaries and making her do things that she doesn't want to do, gets super mad at her for not sharing everything about her life all at once, and does everything but pee on her to mark his territory. But he's the good guy because the gods have chosen him for her. He's also giant and he's impervious to her magic and pretty much the most convenient male character that you could ever imagine. And even then, he's the worst. It's like he was constructed in a lab, but they forgot to humanize him. And then we have the super special female lead. When we first meet her, she is the goddaughter of this one particular god. And then as the series goes on, it turns out every single god kind of considers her their goddaughter. And so you're just like, well, what is going on? If you have even a passing knowledge of Greek mythology, you will know that the gods don't actually cooperate the way that they do in this novel or its sequels. And my God, how annoying is this woman? She is constantly talking about like all these amazing things that she did as a child, like she killed a giant when she was 9 years old, and there are these grown-ass men who are trying to fight one and they can't even get near it. And she knows everything about magical creatures and she knows how to fight them, and she's really this amazing badass. She's got magic and she's got fighting skills. She can fight barehanded and she can do all these different things. And literally every single interior scene that you have with her is basically her being like, oh no, I'm no good. I can understand a certain amount of self-doubt, but my God, this woman's self-doubt is pathological. If you enjoy female leads who just whine about how they're absolutely unworthy and can't do anything while simultaneously telling you all these different things that they can do, and who need constant validation from the people around them to a point where you're just like, ugh, are you serious right now? Then hey, maybe this is the ship that you were looking for. She's also kind of like a video game, you know, like she levels up with each sequel. So when you meet her first, she's already super duper special. But then every time she runs into a god or to a magical being, she just sort of gains new powers. This book also has the most inappropriately timed sex scenes of all time. So one of her powers is invisibility, and she literally just gets naked all the time but just goes invisible. And they keep making out in front of all his friends and family on like a repeated basis. And his family seem like really normal, like country people. And I guess they must be just used to barnyard animals going at it, because they're just like, oh yeah, yeah. But what really took me out was the fact that we find out at the end of book 1 that the male lead has one of my all-time favorite tropes, and by favorite I mean hilarious, which is the magical healing deck. I had to put it down and laugh for a good 5 minutes when I came across that scene. There's also this cast of really great supporting characters who are the male lead's friends, and all of them are so expendable. Honestly, like, this book telegraphs all the things that are going to happen to all the different people. So, you know, there comes a point in the book where you need someone to die for the emotional punch, because that's the kind of book this is. You know where the emotional beats are going to be, and you know exactly what kind of sacrifice is required for the reader to be like, oh no. But obviously the author can't make choices, so she introduces new characters just to kill them off. This is also the kind of book where the female lead had this puppy, and obviously the evil antagonist murders the puppy to teach her a lesson. I'm telling you, there is not a single trope that doesn't make its way into these series of books. And yet, here is the most frustrating thing about this. It is so well written. There's a great pace to it, especially in books 1 and 2. Book 3 slows down a little bit, but this series is basically a testament to what great plotting can do for you. The world building is so minimal. She literally just takes Greek myths and just incorporates it wholesale into her novel. It's not like they're a foundation and then she's innovating or she's interpreting. There is nothing innovative about how she uses Greek mythology. You know how in Percy Jackson, they use all the ideas from Greek mythology to do really cool things? Yeah, this book has none of that. I guess if you're not a fantasy reader, but you're a romance reader and you like to have sexy scenes, and you're really into the concept of an alpha male lead, then maybe this book is for you. I think maybe I might have been more kindly inclined towards it if I had known going in that this was a romance series rather than a fantasy series. I kind of doubt it because there's just so many little things that she does that really annoy me, but your mileage may vary. For more videos, please hit the subscribe button.